A master hunter earns their tool. Skullbreaker's Jawblade is a stronger statement as it is a weapon, drawing power-hungry followers to his pack like vultures to carrion. Prove their worth, and they'll gain a tooth from the fabled blade. Disappoint, and they're fated to be bait. Skullbreaker the Dragon Slayer and Tooth Bearers is a Slayer expansion set to the Godtear core game. This set contains the Skullbreaker champion figure, 4 Tooth Bearers, the cards associated to the set, and the banner. This set is compatible with either core set and can be mixed and matched with other core sets to create your desired warband. Skullbreaker the Dragon Slayer and Tooth Bearers set boasts one of the highest damage output attacks in the entire of Godtear. It is only a single attack from Skullbreaker himself, but it is enough to take out multitudes of champions even at their strongest. If you are one for rolling dice, this is absolutely the champion for you. With that as well, the Tooth Bearers themselves have a fantastic ability of being able to maneuver themselves around the board quickly to take out enemies and do lots of damage. It is a fully aggressive set. There is not a lot of maneuverability, not a lot of point in place in banners. His purpose is solely to take out enemy champions or to mess about with enemy followers. With that, he does need pairings. This is a champion that you will be able to make a lot of kills with, but not one that you will be able to win the game solo with. One-on-one, he has got massive advantage, but if you're against someone who can manipulate the battlefield or change their position quickly, he is going to spend more time chasing enemies than he is going to do fighting them. Saying that, when Skullbreaker is able to pin someone down, he is able to use a lot of his skills to buff himself, give himself a lot of benefits, and then really go in for the strike. His actual Tooth Bearers are also able to buff themselves up before doing big bashes, and of course, like many followers where you get more than one in a set, they are able to band together and really put some damage into an enemy. However, again, these are common followers, they have 1 health and 1 armor each. Their dodge values are quite valuable and quite worth having, but it is more than anything the fact that they're able to do that damage rather than be able to take the damage that is going to be the reason you will actively choose to have them in your warband. As I've already mentioned, Skullbreaker's main feature is the amount of damage he is able to output to champions. Whether they are Shapers, Slayers, Maelstroms, it doesn't matter. If they are in his way, he can put out a lot of damage all at once with a single set of die rolls. During the preparation phase, he is able to remove blights and is able to gain extra accuracy dice. And then during the clash phase, he is able to give himself +4 accuracy, and also with hits give himself the gain a wound activation. He can go for the belly, which allows him to add 2 dice to his hit value, and the hit effect of move a target up to 2 hexes during the activation also occurs. And finally there is the big hit, which is the Jawblade Strike, which could have a potential of up to 9 dice on accuracy and 9 dice on damage. However, this is a single range attack and there is a detriment to it. After using the skill, Skullbreaker loses 1 speed, and during the clash phase he only has 2 as opposed to the preparation where he has 3, meaning that he could be quite susceptible to being ambushed by a multitude of enemy followers or figures. The main innate skill that Skullbreaker has is out of my way. Like Kaylin, he is able to move through small figures and followers. He cannot stop in their space, but he is able to just barge through, meaning that he can make a beeline for any target that he should so choose to attack. As long as he doesn't end in a space with other followers, he is able to just walk straight as the crow would fly. Further to this, in a pinch, he could use his ultimate, which is the finisher, which allows him to use 3 actions instead of just 2 on a turn. This can be a make or break moment and can really clinch that final win, taking out a champion and adding up to 9 dice for both accuracy and damage rolls. The aesthetics surrounding Skullbreaker the Dragon Slayer and Tooth Bearers and their banner is incredibly clear. These guys are bandits, they are mercenaries, they are warriors, they are donned in the apparel made from their enemies. They have slain dragons and they are wearing them. They have slain beasts and they are making them into hats, into bracers, into weapons. And their banner screams that as well, being a stack of dragon skulls on top of each other. hinged only by a spike in the centre. It is a really outspoken and brash statement in the aesthetics department because it screams danger, it screams menacing, it screams powerful, and it is something that your opponent, when they see Skullbreaker on your warband, should know that it is a massive red flag and that they should be steering clear of every single figure inside of this set because they mean trouble. At first glance, it can seem like the Toothbearers, the followers of Skullbreaker, are just generic followers. There are 4 of them, they have 1 health, they have 1 defense, they have 4 dodge. They are pretty mobile, but more than anything, they feel very generic. However, their key ability is set up the boss. When a Toothbearer damages an enemy, Skullbreaker may gain a boon of your choice or move 1 hex. The Toothbearers are there entirely to give a bit of an edge to you in terms of damaging enemies, but also to give Skullbreaker more buffs, to give him more dice, to make him more formidable. During the preparation phase, the first ability is Rush. You may choose a hex and each Toothbearer in that hex may move 2 hexes. On top of their already 3 movement can make them very speedy across the field. And Feral Howl. It gains an aim for every single Toothbearer adjacent to the target, and the target loses a dodge if hit. During the clash phase, they have the Skullcracker, which is where they just simply gain an extra dice for attack, and then the Club Bash. And if you manage to hit the enemy, they automatically gain a wound. But beyond that, it is an attack that stacks with the number of Toothbearers that you actually have in that hex making the attack. Again, like Skullbreaker, these guys are incredibly formidable and dangerous, and moving separately or in a large group, they mean trouble, and it is something that you really need to be able to manage to control. Or if you are the warband with Skullbreaker, you need to take full advantage of the fact that these guys are terrifying and make big claims in terms of moving forward and taking out followers and champions alike. If you're in need of a slayer, and I mean a pure slayer, someone who is built to just take out champions and make a mockery of followers, Skullbreaker the Dragon Slayer and Toothbearers is the perfect set. His entire gimmick, his entire focus is on that damage. He is a champion who will chase enemies down, make massive hits, and then move on to the next one. If you are looking for someone who places banners, holds positions, and takes enemies out, he can also be that. But in my honest opinion, if you are using Skullbreaker as someone to hold a position, to stave off the opposition, then you are not using Skullbreaker to his full potential. His entire central focus and all of his statistics, all of his moves are built towards that big hit, that one-shot kill. He is a hammer on the battlefield. In your warband, he is going to be the one who is going to be chasing the enemies down and taking them out, making people aware that he is there, scaring them away, using the Toothbearers to hold positions better, to really move them back and to drive them away. As a full set, this is a pure slayer, and there is nothing else to it. Skullbreaker is not without fault though. There are certain champions who can easily get the better of him. An example of Mournblade. Not even Mournblade himself, but his followers. The ability to hold Skullbreaker in position and prevent him from moving is detrimental to all of his abilities, since his only attack is 1 hex. With that as well, Shale is an incredibly dangerous adversary for Skullbreaker, because if he is moved away every single turn, it means that he will never be able to get close to where he wants to be. That said, those synergies can be flipped on their head and used on the other side. Shale on the side of Skullbreaker is a superb combo, bringing those enemies and champions and figures closer to Skullbreaker so that he can easily get the big hits. So his 2 actions don't have to be a move and an attack, but instead can be a buff and an attack. Alongside that, having anyone else who is able to control the field whilst Skullbreaker hunts down the enemy is going to be a massive bonus. I personally don't think there are any champions that should not be combined with Skullbreaker, but in my head I always try to run a cap of 10 followers maximum. And because Skullbreaker already has 4 followers, you are going to be running very, very low on space for that. And that's not because more champions and more followers means less manageable, but simply because it sort of waters down the actual effect the Toothbearers can have. You can separate them and you can keep them in one big band together and make massive waves of damage and push back the enemy easily. but having some other followers with other focuses is going to be far more beneficial to control this field. If you are looking for a Slayer combo with Skullbreaker, my first thought is always Lorsan. The fact that he is a 1 hex warrior and he can take out an enemy with this massive strike makes him that hammer. But he needs someone who can also mop up from a distance, and Lorsan with her long range is a fantastic contribution to that. I've already mentioned Shale and his ability to manipulate the field to bring enemies towards him so he can easily mop up again. But with that as well, you need to be very, very wary of other Slayers. Skullbreaker has got a massive health pool of 8, but he is not indestructible. If anything, any Slayer with a long range attack, any champion with a long range attack can be quite dangerous for Skullbreaker, and I have seen some terrible matchups for Skullbreaker against Morrigan because she has been able to give him no end of trouble at a long range and have other champions give him negative effects or push him back further, almost creating a wall that he cannot pass and therefore cannot strike. If you are looking for that champion that is literally a hammer, a weapon to be utilised, someone to take out other champions in swift moves, in fast strikes, and in a magnificent way, Skullbreaker the Dragon Slayer and Toothbearers is the perfect set.